Good morning, guys. Good morning, all of you.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. So we are done with the practicals of this VPC, but we haven't discussed exactly all these components. So first let me list out all the components of a VPC. Which we have discussed. VPC, subnets, route table, bitmap gateway, hmm, macro. These are exclusively for VPC, but of course, the security group is also a part of VPC because it gets deleted along with it. For NAT, NAT comes along with an elastic IP, so we need to make sure. Anything else we missed? Yeah, I guess this much on VPC subnet routable, both sources of internet gateway NAT, security level MACL, DHCP for IPs. So you see, we haven't discussed actually about the theory. Theory related. Is my voice audible clearly? Can anyone confirm?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes.
Yes, sir. Now we are clear.
Yeah. So regarding theory, so we haven't discussed. So when I say theory, there are usually whenever we are discussing any other services, first I am discussing theory, and then we are jumping into this practicals. But in case of VPC, what happened first? We have discussed this VP, this practical concept, and then now we are discussing the theory. Why? Because this is a bit complex topic, so I thought first we better show practical so that you will have an understanding, and then we'll go to the theory. So let's see one by one what is this, what are the theory points related to this VPC. So let's start with the definition of network. So it's a connection between two or more machines to communicate with each other. So we already discussed networking means two words you should use for definitely: connection and communication. Only if you connect any group of machines, then only they will be able to communicate with each other. That is called network. And these are the networking components like NIC, media, topology, protocol, IP addresses. These things. Have we discussed this theory?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So these are the basics of networking actually. Yes. So this is all we have discussed here. So from here we will be discussing what is the definition of VPC. So VPC is a virtual data center in the cloud. That means it's your own network. That also you have launched your own network as a cloud in the cloud because of virtual thing. Next, VPC allows you to provision a logically isolated section of Amazon Web Services cloud where you can launch AWS resources in a virtual network that you define. So what do they mean by logically isolated section? You are launching VPC. First of all, that is a logically isolated because it's a separate network. Again, inside that you are defining your characteristics. One should be private, one should be public. And again, in them, you are launching resources as per your business requirements. Some web servers in public, some database servers in private, nothing but database resources in a virtual network that you define. That means this VPC, which we have already defined, some site name you have given as per your requirement. And then you have logically isolated them as something public, something private. And inside those logically isolated sections, we are launching AWS resources like EC2, these things, or databases, etc., security groups, or that is what they mean by the definition of VPC. Okay. So this is the diagram. Actually, no need to follow this diagram. This will look a bit confusing. You can follow our diagram, which we have drawn. You remember the diagram, right? So try to practice as much as possible that diagram, because no matter how much experience you come, how many years of experience, the VPC diagram will be the same, and the concept and the flow will be same. So try to practice as much as possible. Without seeing anything, you should be able to draw from scratch, like how I'm drawing. Have anyone practiced without seeing complete diagram like this?
Yes, sir.
Are you able
Yes,
to
sir.
do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because if you were able to draw the diagram perfectly, that's it. Half of the work is done there, not even half, 80%. This is for pulling the data from the MySQL, from MySQL by the web servers. And then to go inside securely, we will launch Bastion in public segment. It will have the public and private. Enable public. So with this link, Bastion no need to forget side assignment. By default, any submit when you create it is a private. So later we have committed as per the requirement is in the public. And how can you provide secure internet to private subnet? We will launch net, and this net will connect to router and routers. This is a main, and then comes into the picture NAT. This is a custom image, and this is a main MSC. And coming to the security groups, only admin can enter inside this bastion. Similarly, in web server, only admin can go, and only the private IP of bastion will connect to database, and then finally the web server. Anyone can do this HTTP traffic. That's it, or we miss anything? Nothing. That's it.
NA2 RAT Elastic IP.
Yeah, the IPs. So one, this will also have public IP, private IP. Instead, we will have the elastic. Right. Good. Yeah. So you can follow this diagram, because if you see that you want it will be a bit confusing, but ultimately the concept to components diagram is. So now let's discuss the proper concept case. You see, individually, whatever the resources we have drawn in this diagram, VPC, subnets, NAT, all these individually, what is the technical concept behind, technical theory behind each component? Why internet gateway? What is VPC? Which is regional level? All these things. First of all, is VPC a regional service, regional based or not?
Regional based.
When I ask the question, I mean, so we have launched VPC in the Mumbai region. So my question is, now if you go to some any other region, something like you have gone to Singapore and you have opened VPC service there. Can you see this VPC which you have created here? Something like 10.0.0.16 you have created, right? Now if you go to Singapore and in their VPC, can you see this 10.0.0.16 in Singapore region? What do you see? Have you tried anyone while practicing? Can you see or not? At least say that question. Yes or no? So that the answer will be there in that answer. So let's say if it is visible here in Singapore. So what does that mean? VPC is which type of service? Regionally can be shared among regions. But if it is not visible in Singapore, that means VPC is a service which cannot be shared across the regions. So what is the answer now? VPC can be shared across the regions or no?
No, sir. It cannot be shared.
No, we cannot share. Same like EC2. Like if you launch any EC2 mission in Mumbai, can you see it in Mumbai? Can you see it in North Virginia or Singapore region? No. Same is the case with VPC. So VPC is a regional specific. And inside VPC, what are the things we have discussed? Internet gateways, route tables, NACL, subnets, and security groups. So consists of means just remember a blind role. So some of you might be thinking we have security groups. We did not create as a part of VPC, no? Okay, only these are part of VPC. You might be thinking. Only blind role is whenever you delete VPC, every day what happening? And then we are deleting VPC right after practicing. What are the parts of VPC that are getting deleted? You just delete VPC automatically. These are also getting deleted. What is that? Subnets, route table, NACL, security group. So what are the things which are getting deleted? Those are all part of VPC only. That's why they say VPC consists of. So whenever you get out, what are the part? I mean, which belongs to VPC? What are the different components that belongs to VPC? Just remember that. In the end, when you're deleting, while practicing also you see yes. When deleting VPC, it will give you clearly. It will give the list what it is about to get deleted. Two subnets, two route tables, two NACLs, all the security groups for Bastion, web server, database, everything will be there in that table. So just have an idea, look at that, so that this first point will be clarified. Next, one subnet is equal to one availability zone. This first of all, just say me the simple answer. When I say subnet, is subnet regional specific or availability zone specific?
Availability.
Any other? What is region based VPC or subnet? Which is region based? VPC is
VPC.
region based. Inside VPC, what we are creating? Subnet. Something subnet 1, subnet 2 we are creating. So that's why what is the name we have given while practicing? What is the name of our subnet? Something like 10.0.10/24 public 1A. So what is this 1A?
Availability.
Availability zone.
It's an availability zone. Simple logic. So now I will explain in the real time how in real time it works. So in real time you will have a VPC. You have two public subnets. At the same time you will have two private subnets. Two public and two private. So why two public and two private? Any idea? Anyone? So something like this is in Chennai data center. This is Delhi data center. This is Delhi data center. This is Chennai data center. Like that. But in our practicals we have practiced only one public and one private. So I said you can have any number. The only thing is they should be subset of the VPC. So let's say this cake is your VPC. This cake, complete cake. How many pieces you can cut the cake? You can cut into many pieces, provided that each piece is a part of the cake, right? You cannot cut piece somewhere outside the cake here. You can cut here only. So here also, when you say your VPC cider range is 10.0.0.16, you can cut any number of pieces within this limit only. So within this just almost 2 power 16 means we have seen. It's almost in lakhs, the type is 2 power 16 means. So into that many parts you can cut the subnets. But usually in real time companies also, we don't divide into that many parts. Maximum 4 is enough. But in that 4 also, 2 public subnets, 2 private subnets. Yeah. So now the question is, why 2 public and why 2 private? Why can't we go with only 1 public and 1 private?
To achieve high availability.
Alright, good, good. That's a technical answer. High availability. So what do you mean by high availability? Next question.
Multi-agent.
Right, multi-age. I think we already discussed. That's why I said correct. So high availability means in interviews they will ask you like, okay, being a cloud engineer, how did you make sure your infrastructure is highly available? So the simple one word answer is multi-age. I have implemented multi-age architecture in all the services of my environment that helps me achieve the high available architecture. This is how you have to answer it here. So the same thing. So here, even though if for some reason Chennai data center is downward still, the traffic will be taken by the web servers and the bastion in the Delhi data center. Like same is the case in database. That's why one subnet is equal to one availability zone. So whenever I say subnet, that means it belongs to some availability zone. So here don't think if I say one subnet is equal to one availability zone. If you launch one subnet already in one way, don't think again you can't launch another public subnet in the same one. You can launch up to you. But is there any use launching both subnets in the same availability zone? Technically, if one is gone automatically, this is also gone. Why? Because both belongs to Chennai only. Here also Chennai, here also Chennai. So what is the reason of launching two Chennai data centers? Instead, launch one in Chennai, one in Delhi. Even if for some reason any one is gone, the traffic will be taken by the servers in another availability zone. That is nothing but multi-agent. So multi-agent means not only don't think not only launching multiple availability zones, but also think logically that multi should be different, not same. So that's why one subnet is equal to one availability zone. Any doubt in subnets and availability zone? So simple logic, I will give simple blind knowledge. Whenever you hear region, region means belongs to VPC. Whenever you hear subnet, subnet means it belongs to, we are talking about availability. That's it. By mistake, if you say subnet, comparing subnet with the region in the interview, that's it. You are done for that. That means you don't know basics everything. Don't ever compare subnet with region. You just say when you're talking about region, talk about VPC. If you're talking about subnet, talk about availability. Right. Next. Security groups are stateful. Yeah, this is a bit technical. Let me explain. In interview, the question starts like this, guys. First of all, what are different layers of security for a VPC developer? The first question. So, what are the two things? One is security group. So, security group is it security at which level? Instance level. Second is NACL, NACL. So, it is security at which level?
Subnet level.
Subnet level. So, on a high level, both are a security layers for your complete VPC. Next comes the question. What is the difference between security group and NACL? They will ask. Or they will start the question something like this. Which are stateful? So the answer is security group. So you will say, okay, the answer is security. Then they will ask, why? Why security groups are called stateful? They will ask. So then comes answer. So whenever, listen carefully, whenever the interviewer or in the examination certification, whenever you see this word, stateful or stateless, forget about everything. Only remember one thing in your mind. That is outbound rule. Okay. Whenever stateful or stateless, anyone asks you what is a stateful or what is a stateless, your answer should contain only the word outbound rule. Okay. So what is the difference? So now that we have done practicals, what is the difference guys in outbound rule for a security group and for a natural? Anyone observe?
In NSL, you can allow or deny the
No, right, right, correct. So
perception.
by, by, default, in a security group, all the outbound rules are, 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 all the all traffic is allowed. Yes or no? What did we discuss yesterday only? The cinema theater example. We don't keep anyone
Right.
checking the ticket at the end of the, I mean, at the exit of the theater. We keep only at the entrance. So that's why I said we never play with the security group. Outbound will be always allowed only. We just restrict who should come inside the theater only with the inbound group. That is the first thing. When it comes to NACL, when we have created one custom NACL, you remember what is the default nature of a custom NACL?
Deny.
Right. The outbound is denied. It's okay. Forget about inbound. Why? Because if anyone asks you the meaning of stateful and stateless, just explain only with outbound. No need to explain about inbound. So NACL it's by default denied. So this is the answer. So why it is called stateful means? Why? Because by default it allows all the outbound traffic. That's why it is called stateful. By default it denies all the traffic. That's why it is called stateless. Usually when I used to give initial in my initial career days, when I used to give for giving interviews, I always get confused because of these two things. I mean, I know the words and I know the reason also, but I used to get confused because of the tension of the interview. So how can you remember any blind rule? So you should keep some blind rule so that you don't get confused. Instead of saying security group of stateful, if you say security group of stateless, even though you know concept, they think you said the wrong answer because you said the wrong answer. So you should have a blind rule. If you have some blind rules, okay, you can follow it. But I will give you some blind rules which I used to remember so that you can follow. Full means just full in the end. Full means what? You have full. That means you have everything. So everything means in which scenario everything is allowed all in a security group. So that's why stateful means security group. That way you can have a blind rule. Less means not everything, something less or nothing you can say. So where you will deny everything complete traffic, where the traffic is denied, only in a NACL. So NACLs are called statements. Did that work? That comparison for a blind rule for any of you. So that yeah, if you don't keep some blind rule like this, you have to buy head. So that is up to you whether you will buy head or keep a blind rule something like this, some story behind it, so that you can remember. If you remember something with a reference of a story, then you can remember forever. You don't need to forget. So that is lost. Security groups are stateful and NACL are stateful. So how will you remember? That is up to you. I have explained the concept. I have explained the reason also. So whenever anyone asks about stateful or stateless, we just compare the things by taking the reference of outbound rules. That's it. No need to bring inbound into the answer. And then, so whenever you create a VPC, your VPC automatically comes with a default NACL, and by default it allows all inbound and outbound traffic. Yes or no? What do you think guys about this point? Is this point correct or no? Correct or not this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is correct. Then why just now we discussed one NACL is by default everything is denied. Which NACL is that?
Custom.
Right. Good. Good. So here they're talking about which VPC. Observe carefully this word. So whenever you create a
Main,
VPC,
main
right? Whenever you create a VPC, along with that VPC, three things gets created. What are the three things?
DSCP, NSCL,
DHCP,
RT.
table, and NACL. So these are default things. That means which got created along with the VPC. So they are asking about the characteristic of this NACL, default NACL. So what is the characteristic of default NACL? Both inbound as well as outbound routes or all traffic are allowed for a default NACL. So that's what they're saying. Your VPC automatically comes with the default NACL, and what they're explaining the characteristics of the default NACL. What is it? It allows all both inbound as well as inbound traffic. That also all traffic. The opposite is you can create a custom initial. And what is the nature of a custom initial by default? By default, each custom initial
denies both service.
denies both inbound as well as outbound traffic until we add rules manually. Yesterday we have added or not manually. What are the rules we have added manually? Then only we are able to see our website again back.
Number
Yeah,
rules and
specific
feature.
rule number.
Yeah, rule number, right. So different rule numbers we have given, and then only we were able to access our website back. So that is what they mean by until you add rules, until you define rules, something like okay, hello, this port 22, hello, this port 80, then only it will work. Or else by default it won't work anything. It denies it all the traffic. So any doubt in this first slide? Anyone? Any theoretical doubt or any technical related doubt in all these points which we discussed? Because this is important, this theory is important because in interview they will be testing your theoretical knowledge on VPC. Next, these are some important points. Of course, you know it, but we haven't discussed in a theoretical way. That's why there might be still confusion. But if you don't discuss this, you might say some wrong answers in the interview, and we don't want to take that risk because VPC is the most important topic when it comes to the interview. I already told you many times. Fine. So what is the first one? Each subnet in your VPC must be associated with a initial. Okay, fine. And then if you don't explicitly associate a subnet with NACL, the subnet is automatically associated with default NACL. Is it correct or not? Is my first question. And second one, have we done it or not really when we are doing practical? You just study this first sentence, this complete, and let me know what you understand by studying that. Anyone explaining that? Just for the answer is there on right. That is only the answer. You just explain me what is written.
Yes, correct.
It's
Subnet must include
Yes,
both.
yes.
right. So you see in the title. Let me. So what happened earlier? Earlier, let's say before we create a custom initial, what happened? We have only default initial. When we create when default initial got created along with the VPC, that is fine. Second one, and we have created some different subnets, right? We have created one private and we made it public, and we already have public. Have you observed both subnets are attached to the default
Main.
NACL, main NACL only initially. That is the reason why we are able to see our website. Have you remember when we discussed NACL concept in the last class? We have discussed NACL, but till that time also, till we discuss NACL concept, even though we are launching in public subnet, we are able to see our complete things. Why? Because it is attached to the main NACL, default NACL, and the characteristic of a default NACL is by default inbound and outbound all are hello. That is the reason why you are able to see everything. But so that is what they are saying that what the basic thing they are saying is for definitely every subnet should be attached to NACL. That is for sure, no doubt in that. If you attach manually for some by creating some custom NACL, okay, it will be attached to that custom NACL. But if you don't, that means you have created subnets. But if you don't explicitly associate it to any another custom NACL, automatically it will be attached to the main NACL. So which happened with in our case also. Until we have created custom NACL, all the subnets are attached to the NACL. I mean this default NACL. And if you want, you can cross check also while practicing. Before you create custom NACL, just check for main NACL how many subnets are attached. Not only two. Let's say you have created 5 subnets. You have created 10 subnets inside VPC. All the 10 subnets will be attached to the main NACL. And if you want, you can practice. Creating subnet is how much? Just 1 minute time. You know how to create, right? Just create some different series: 10, 0, 1, 0, 24, 2, 0, 24, 3, 0, 24, 4, 0, 24, 5, 0 slash 24. Like that, you create 6 or 7 and go and check in your NACL. How many subnets are attached to your default NACL? All the subnets will be attached to this default only. So that is a concept here. So always don't buy hard things. Just go with the concept. So that no matter how much big question they will ask you, you can answer simply if you know the concept. So the same thing they have mentioned here. Each subnet in your VPC must means it's a compulsory. It's not a each subnet in your must be associated with NACL. That means compulsory every subnet should be associated with the NACL. And then what they're saying condition, if you don't explicitly means manually, if you don't manually associate a subnet with any NACL, the subnet is automatically associated with a default NACL. That's what I said. If you create 6 or 7 or 8 subnets and if you did not manually attach them to any other NACL, by default they will be attached to a default NACL. Default NACL means nothing but which got created along with the VPC. Right? Any doubt in this point, anyone? Second one, you can associate a NACL with multiple subnets. Okay, fine. However, a subnet can be associated with only one NACL at a time. It's like a tongue twister. Okay, at least explain me till here what you understood. Then I will say. Just study the sentence what I have highlighted within the brackets and say give me what you understand.
One NACL can be attached to multiple subnets, but each subnet should have only one name.
Okay, alright. So let me draw diagram, then you will understand. So let's say I have subnet A, subnet B, and I have one NACL, main NACL, and I have created a custom NACL. Okay. So what they are saying, you can associate an NACL with multiple subnets. That means one NACL can be attached to any number of subnets. Fine. That means the first is correct. What is the second scenario? Subnet A, subnet B. NACL main, NACL custom. However, a subnet can be associated with only one NACL at a time. That means either you can attach subnet 1 to this one or or only this one, but you can't attach at the same time two NACLs to the subnet. So observe the diagram carefully, let me know if you have any doubt. So that means this second one is not possible. The first one is possible. That is the meaning of the sentence which I have highlighted within the brackets. So see the diagram carefully. If you have any doubt, you ask me. So is my diagram correct or not as per the sentence?
Correct, correct.
Yeah. So it's a bit tricky. It's a bit confusing, like something like tongue twisters. That's why I have drawn the diagram, because if I don't draw the diagram, you can't understand. No matter 100 times if I say the same sentence. Once you see the diagram, it will be clear. So what happened? Why you can't? So the reason also they have mentioned in the continuing sentence. So what did they say? When you associate a NACL with a subnet, the previous association is removed. Yes or not, guys? Have you seen that? Practical or not? I showed you practically. Before, under the subnet association section, it was blank when we are doing practical. Later, what we did, I have created a custom NACL and I have attached our public subnet to the custom NACL. Then what happened automatically? That got detached from the default NACL and got attached to the network, this one custom NACL. So that's why that means at any time you can attach only one NACL to a subnet. Why? What is the reason, guys? Anyone? What can be the reason why they have kept like this reason? There is a technical reason. If you think carefully, you can say the answer. Why we can't attach two NaCls to a same subnet is my question.
If you have seen, I mean, you have a problem with the rule number execution.
Right, good. Simple answer, simple answer. So, okay, I asked you a question. So, not only here, listen carefully. Whenever someone asks a question, don't think exactly at the question point. Just go 2 steps back. So, what is my question now? Why I can't attach two NaCls to a same subnet? I asked. So, then what is the logic of the question? Okay, there is something. Answer is related in the nature of the NaCl, characteristic of NaCl. That way you have to think. Your thought process should be in the backwards. So many will think, oh, if I know the answer, I will say the answer to that question. They don't have the habit of thinking. You should develop that habit of thinking, because someone tomorrow in interview they might ask you some question from backside or 2 steps behind. So you have to collect that information of how you have to think the steps forward 2 steps or backward 2 steps. So here, what is the, as the question said, you can't attach two NaCls to a same subnet. So what is, then you have to think about the nature of NaCls. Okay, what is the nature of NaCls? There are two types of NaCls. One is a default, one is a custom. And what we do in NaCls, we define rules. Okay, I will say one can be allowed, one can be denied. Okay, so there is a conflict here. That is the reason why I can't attach two NaCls to one subnet. So what do I mean by conflict? Let's say in NaCl, main NaCl, I will say allow all the traffic for 22 port. In NaCl custom, I will say deny all the traffic for 22. Now, if I attach both NaCls to the subnet, which rule should subnet follow? Right? Technically, is that correct or not? Is there a conflict or not between the rules? There is a conflict
Yes.
for the rules. That is the reason why they said you can never attach two NaCls to a single subnet. Even though if you try to attach, automatically it will get detached when you are trying to attach to the second one. Like that. Any doubt in this point, anyone? Second one? These all are very, very important points, guys. Definitely they will ask in the interview. But how confidently, how clearly you're explaining them, that defines your confidence. That is the reason why I'm spending this much time on each point. So even after spending, if you still have doubt, just ask me, no issues. Right. The third point is a NaCl contains a numbered list of rules that is evaluated in order. This is actually the proper concept. This is the main thing. Evaluated in order, starting with the lowest number rule. So what did I say? That is the reason why I say, don't think numbers are simply guys. Okay, I can give 100, I can give 99, 200, 300. Yes, you can give any number. But what is the logic behind these rule numbers? Yesterday I told you which type of rules you should give lowest numbers, which type of rules you should give highest numbers. I have shown you
To
examples
allow, we
also.
have to give higher numbers. To deny, we have to give lower numbers.
I have taken a manual example, like I added the Pretucious public IP and we checked also. When I added Pretucious IP and the 300 number as deny rule, and I allowed every traffic in the world on 99 rule, what happened? Still Pretucia was able to see the website. Why? Because the order takes as per the number. So in the 99 rule itself, you have said everyone in the world can see my website. So even though you block her in the 300 rule, there is no use. Already she entered the website in the 99 rule only. So that is the reason why it's a very blind rule. No need to, nothing logic is there. It's a very blind rule. When you define the number of importance of the number means simply whatever the type of traffic you want to deny, just give them the lowest number. And what are the traffic you want to allow for everyone in the world? 00. This type of, whenever you say 00, make sure these are given highest number, something like 500 or 600. So why? Because in between you are having 500 options to deny 500 types of rules. So if you have to have more number of options to deny, obviously you should have that much margin between allow and a deny rule number. That's right. So the concept of NaCl is, yes, you have a different rules of numbers, just like 100, 200, 200 you can keep. That is one point. Second point is they follow They are fired. They are considered in an order, starting with the lowest number rule first. And then last one is a NACL, a network NACL, not a network NACL, network ACL. You can call it NACL or network ACL, anything is fine. Network access control list. NACL has separate inbound and outbound rules. Okay, we know that. And each rule can be either allow or deny. Nothing technical, we know. So they're saying NACL have inbound and outbound rules. Okay, that is first one. Second thing is, again in inbound also you can define allow or deny. In outbound also you can define allow or deny. That is what they're trying to say. Fine. Any doubts still here? Anyone in this complete slide? I'm done with this slide. In any point. Okay. Next slide is, yeah, this is very important differences. So what do you think is? It's okay. Before studying this table, you say me some differences between security group and NACL. Anyone? Whatever you remember in your mind.
Security group do not
Security
have a
group
permission.
allow.
Okay, security group, yes. In security group, you can only allow. You don't have option to deny. That is what you're trying to say, right? Yeah, okay. That is one difference. Any other difference?
Security groups are stateful and MSPL are stateless.
Yes, stateful and stateless. Nice. Okay, 2 points. Next, third point.
Security group is subnet level. Oh, sorry, instance level.
Yes, right, right. Next.
Yeah,
Hmm,
that
can you explain?
NSL is level subnet level.
Right. You see, why I ask you a question means now you're thinking for the answer. When you're thinking the whole diagram. Without knowing yourself, you're thinking the whole diagram. That is the reason why I asked you. I can show you simply the table. The answer is in the table. But you don't use your mind. If I say straight away the answers. Okay, 3 points finished. Any others? One simple point is missed. No one said till now. Differences between security group and NHL. One simple point you have missed, which is not much technical. Of course, everything is technical, but it's very easy. No need to think that much. I mean to say.
Security group is in instance level and
No,
MSPL is subnet level.
that's it already. Already said. Third point. So till now you said 3 points. One is in
ASK
security.
allows inbound outbound topics.
Then security group also, no, inbound and outbound.
The ephemeral port concept is not there in security. It is
Okay.
there in
Right, right. Yeah, that ephemeral ports. Okay. Ephemeral ports. We need to add in NACL. Okay, that can be 1 point. Okay, good. So what you said 3 points is first one. In security group, you cannot deny the traffic. You can only allow. That is your first point. Second point is security group is stateful. NACL is stateless. Okay. And your third point is what is it? Third point. Yeah, security group acts at instance level. NACL acts at subnet level. And someone said just now in NACL we use ephemeral ports, but in security group we don't use NACL. I mean ephemeral ports. That rule. Fine. Any other? One simple point is missed. I was saying that's one. Still that is not there. One simple point. And the answer is there on the screen also. In this slide also that answer is there. That point.
NACL contains number.
multiple
That's
security groups.
Right. NACL follows how to enter or deny the traffic in an order. Whereas in security group, is there any order? Is there any number?
no,
I mean, order in the sense
no.
you can give anything. SSH you can give first, HTTP you can give first, but that doesn't follow in an order. Ultimately, it will take all the rules, whatever you define in the inbound rules. But whereas in NACL, it follows the order because we have numbers here evaluated in an order. So that is the easy point actually. You could have.
There is one question. Can we attach multiple security groups to install NACL?
Yes,
Freedom to do.
yes, we can attach. Actually, it's a basic question. Actually, I think we have discussed that in one of the classes. In the initial classes only we discussed. If you want, while you're practicing, you try creating two security groups. In one security group, just define only 22 port. Create one more security group, define only HTTP, and attach both the security groups to same instance. And try removing the HTTP security group and check whether your website is accessible or not. Of course, you can't access it when you detach that security group. Only when you attach that second security group, then only you can see the website. Not only two, multiple. You can attach any number of security groups to one EC2. Yeah, so now let's see the differences because this table is for sure. They'll ask some questions will come in certification. In interview, definitely they will ask. So this is security group and this is initial. The first point is operates at instance level. This operates at subnet level. Second one supports only allow rules. There is no deny option. What they are trying to say is there is no deny option in security group. Whereas here you have both allow rules as well as deny. Both rules you have at NACL level. Third one, security group is called stateful. So up to you. I have given you one story. If you remember that story, you can think of the story and say the answer in the interview. If you have some blind holes to remember, it's okay. Ultimately, you have to say the correct answer. That is what I want. Stateful means return traffic. What do you mean by return traffic? Return traffic means
Outbound.
right. So don't think this is something new word. So what did I say when if anyone asks you the difference between stateful and stateless? So always the answer should contain only explanation should contain only outbound rules, nothing about inbound. So that's why you see in the third point, whenever they ask about stateful and stateless, the answer contains only about outbound traffic. Outbound traffic is automatically allowed regardless of any rules. Whereas in stateless means outbound traffic must be explicitly allowed. Explicitly means
Manually.
manually. We have to allow it manually. When you create a custom initial, what happened? By default, it is denied. We changed it to allow by adding some ports. And then we evaluate all rules before deciding whether to allow traffic. So that all rules means is there any order in security group?
No
No.
order.
No order. You can give any number of ports. I can open port 80, port 443, port 22, 3306, 3389, any port. I can add 100 ports, 50 ports in a security group. But there is no order. It will consider all the ports at a time. But whereas in NACL, we process rules in a number order. That means when deciding whether to allow traffic. So I said that's why if you want to allow some traffic, give it the highest number. If you want to deny some traffic, give it the lowest number. That is what they said deciding. So if you decide to block someone, so give them the lowest rule. If you decide to allow everything 0 0 rule, so give such type of rules the last number, highest number. And finally, the last point is applies to an instance only if someone specifies the security group when launching the instance or associate the security group with the instance later on. Yeah, what is the meaning of this? If you say the meaning of this answer, automatically you can answer this. What is the meaning of this? This fifth point in security group. Just study and see. Nothing technical, but at the same time, concept is
There is a default security group. Then we have to manually specify.
others. Only one is answering. It's not exactly about default. So what they're trying to say is, whenever you are creating a security group, after creating security group, what happened? You have to attach it to the whatever EC2 you want. You have to attach it manually. It won't get attached automatically. But whereas what is the NACL? When NACL is created by default, automatically all the subnets are attached to it. What happened when a main NACL got created along with the VPC? And whenever you are creating any subnets, what did we discuss? All the subnets are attached to the main NACL. Have we
Default.
right default NACL? Did we attach it by doing any things? No, right? The moment you create subnet, automatically it got attached to the NACL. That is what they are trying to say. Whenever you are creating a security group, if you want to use that security group with any instance, you have to attach it manually. But whereas when you create a subnet, all the subnets will be attached directly by default to the NACL. Later, if we want, we have to create a custom NACL and attach to this, then automatically this will get detached. That is the second scenario. But they are talking about the basic thing. What is the basic thing? Applies to an instance only if someone specifies the security group. That means if you manually attach it to the instance, then only that security group will be applied to that instance when launching the instance. Or associate the security group with instance later on. Later also we can also, right? After creating EC2, can we attach or not security group? Either while launching instance also you can attach security group, or after launching instance also you can attach the security group. And here what they are saying, automatical applies to all instances in the subnets it's associated with. Therefore, you don't have to rely on users to specify the security group. Why? Because simple logic is NACL acts as a security at subnet level, whereas security group acts as a security at instance level. So anyone understood this point, guys? I will explain you this point. The right side point under NACL. What they are trying to
Yes.
say, yes, what they are trying to say is, yeah, this NACL. So whatever the rules you give in this NACL, if you say port 80 is deny the traffic, that means at NACL level I have denied the traffic for port 80, that means HTTP port. Is there any requirement for you to again explicitly change the security group of each mission that port 80 should not be allowed? If you block here, automatically the port 80 traffic is blocked for all the web servers. Yes or no? Technically, if you block
Yes.
any port at NACL level, it blocks all the traffic for all the instances which are part of the subnet. That is what they are trying to say. You see here, automatically applies to all the instances. Why all the instances? Because all the instances are part of your subnet. Therefore, you don't have to rely on users to specify security group. I no need to change anything of security group. If I want to block something for all the 100 servers at a time, what you should do? Either you should go to each and security group which is attached to your 100 web servers and change there, or simply I can change simply one rule at the NACL level. So that means it will be applicable automatically to the complete subnet. That is what they are trying to say. So these are some theory points. Of course, apart from this, there are some more technical concepts like VPC peering endpoint that we will discuss in our next class. So before that, I just wanted to show you the practical difference between the custom NACL, not NACL, custom VPC and a default VPC. I will just open the VPC dashboard. You just see all the components and you say me what is the difference between a custom NACL and a default NACL. Sorry, my NACL, VPC, not NACL. Yeah, let's go to VPC. Yeah. So now we have only one VPC, which is the default VPC. So check all the characters. These are all the parts of VPC. These are all different options of VPC. So you check and let me know. Do you find anything missing as a part of the default VPC?
Virtual private gateways.
No, oh, it's okay. Leave it. Which we did not discuss. Leave that. No need to discuss that. Yes, leave. No, which we discussed, but which you did not find any number. Let's say routable is there. Okay, we discussed routable, so routable is there. Okay, internet gateway we discuss. Okay, internet like that. We discuss some component, but which is having some no value is there. Right.
NAT gateway.
Right. Good. So without NAT gateway, how the default VPC is working? Next comes the question. You got my question right? There is no NAT gateway, but still, all these days, even though you don't know VPC concept, we are launching web servers and you are able to see website. How is it possible? Without NAT gateway, how the default VPC is working?
NAT especially used to provide the internet to private subnet.
Right, good, good. The way you're thinking is correct. First of all, why we use NAT gateway? We use NAT way to provide internet to
Private.
private subnet. Okay, so now the answer goes to concentration goes on private subnet. Okay, then where is the private subnet in a VPC? Let's go to subnet. So by seeing, how can you say any subnet is public or private? You can't say. So you have to click on this. Yeah. Now, however, you can say which is a public or which is a private. In which option I need to check whether this is a public or private. Simple question, guys. Tomorrow, if you go to interview, they will show you a subnet like this, and simple they will ask you question. Just by seeing this, or you can use any of these options. You mark any subnet and say me whether this is a public or private. This is a simple question they will ask.
NSA.
To see that public ID from, can you scroll down?
So first basic thing is, without going to technical, just by seeing the name, how can you say is? What did we discuss? What is the nature of a default subnet? By default, when a subnet is there, by default it's a private. When it is a custom VPC. When you have created any VPC and when you create subnet inside it, then that subnet is private. But which VPC is this? This is a default VPC. So in a default VPC, so now you have doubt whether this is public or not. Simply, whenever you get out whether it's a public or private, simply go to the route table. So now you can see the answer by seeing this. To which subnet you will attach internet gateway?
Public subnet.
Same, simple answer.
Public.
Why we use internet gateway? For providing internet. So how did we make our subnet into public after when we created private? If you have to make it public, what did we do? We added internet gateway and we enable public IP something. So always a blind rule is, if anyone asks you, actually so many experienced people also don't know this logic. They try to buy hard things. The logic is, if anyone asks you whether it's a public or private subnet, simply select that subnet, go to the route tables and check. If internet gateway is there, it is a public. If NAT is there, it is a private. Okay. Why we add NAT is where we attach NAT in our practicals. We attach NAT to
Private subnet.
private subnet. So if you check carefully, by default, all the subnets of a default VPC all are public only. See, all are attached to internet gateway. So now you have your answer. Even the NAT gateway is not there, how everything is working in VPC. Why? Because first of all, there is no private subnet in a default VPC, right? There is no private subnet first of all in a default VPC. That is the reason why when private subnet is not there, is there any use of NAT gateway? All subnets are getting internet, then what is the use of NAT gateway here? That's it. But whereas when you create a custom VPC, by default, and when you create any subnet in it, then it is a private VPC, not VPC, subnet. It's a private subnet. So you have to manually attach it to a creating an ad gateway. Whatever the subnet you want to make it public, you have to attach to internet gateway, that will be a public. You have to attach to an ad, that will be private. So that's why actually so many things in VPC. VPC is the strongest. Subnet is the strongest. NAT gateway is the strongest. Not these people. Who is the only strongest guy in the VPC? Route table is always the strongest person in complete VPC. Anyone can answer. Anyone can get the complete information about complete VPC by looking at the route table. That's why route table is like a connector between the complete architecture. If you see in the table also, in the diagram, route table is the main person which connects everything. Even though he might look small here, but the very important person is route table. Okay. So once you are practicing, once you have created your custom VPC and you are practicing, spend some time on it. You compare some VPCs, compare the default VPC with the custom VPC, compare the nature of the subnets, subnets of a default VPC with the subnets which you have created, and check the route table connections by default. When you create it immediately, or how is the connections happening, you check all these things so that you will develop confidence in the concept. Okay. Any doubts in today's class? Still one more class is there, VPC, that we will discuss. So tomorrow we'll have class. What do you say? So that we can complete VPC.
Sure.
Yeah, okay then.
What time? Morning 10 to 11.
Sure, Ravan.
Okay.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning 10 to 11 we'll have, so that we can complete that VPC. And Sunday you can practice. We will have time to practice. Okay, guys. Then have a nice day. We'll meet in tomorrow. Morning.
One minute, I have doubt actually.
Yeah. You can ask.
In VPC, what's the maximum limit of creating submits? How many submits we have to create in VPC?
Yeah, that depends upon your VPC cider range. I said right. That cake example. How big your cake is, that many pieces you can cut. Same is the case. How big is your cider? That many pieces, that many subnets you can create within a VPC.
Oh,
It's a simple mathematics calculation. You know how to calculate cider range, and you know the complete range. So it is up to you to decide how many you want to cut into.
okay.
Yeah.